This, my friends, is the Xiaomi 12S Ultra, the best of the best smartphone from Xiaomi this year. And not only it has the Leica Magic, but also has a huge 1-inch camera sensor. But there's also one huge problem. Now, starting from the unboxing process, the box comes in black with the Mi logo at the top right and the Xiaomi 12S Ultra text in the middle. Then at the bottom side of the box, there's the variant and the audio specs over there. Opening the box cover, there's a smaller box which has the SIM ejector pin on the outside and a soft clear TPU case on the inside. Then you'll find the phone itself. Underneath, there's the USB-A to USB-C cable and a 67-watt turbo charging brick. Next, as for the phone's design and build quality, I must say that I really like the look and feel of the 12S Ultra, where it looks and feels like a camera. It has a full metal frame that is wrapped with the eco-friendly silicone leather, and it was like it was made for the hands. Now, there's a nice soft texture, very comfortable to hold and use, and what's great is that it is also dust and water resistant, as it does have an official IP68 rating. Now, while the phone does look heavy, but it's just at 225 grams and is offered in classic black and the verdant green color. Now, on the back, the outer cover with the Leica branding protects the huge circular camera array that houses a triple camera setup, which I prefer compared to having several circles of lenses instead. So with a single wipe, you are all set in case the lens get dirty. Now, you might think that the phone might be very wobbly when you type it on a surface because of this huge camera bump, but the good news is that it doesn't. Now, as for the ports and buttons, looking down below, other than the USB-C port, you'll find one of the stereo speakers over there, and also the dual SIM card slot with no micro SD card expansion. The volume rocker and the power button is on the right, the IR blaster is on top, and the other stereo speaker with the Sound by Harman Kardon logo is over there, as it does have the Dolby Atmos support too. Now, as for the display, it is a 6.7-inch AMOLED 2K resolution display with a 3200 by 1440 pixels with Dolby Vision certification that has a beautiful curved edges and a punch hole camera right in the middle. Now, the reason why the screen is so good is because of the fact that it's using Samsung's LTPO E5 display. Hence, it has an amazing 10-bit color depth and P3 white color gamut with a huge 1500 nits of peak brightness with an adaptive refresh rate that starts from 1Hz to 120Hz. So overall, this is probably Xiaomi's best looking display compared to any other smartphone that they have produced as of now. Now, as for the phone's camera, since that is one of the main selling factors of the phone, when you mention Leica, you'll immediately think about the amazing photographs with that unique Leica look and the iconic retro-looking cameras. And let's not forget the Leica's presence in the smartphone scene through the partnerships with brands like Huawei prior to this. So going into the camera specs, at the back, it has a 50.3 megapixel f1.9 aperture, 23 wide lens with a super large 1-inch sensor which uses a Sony IMX989 sensor with OIS, a 48 megapixel Sony IMX586 13mm ultra-wide f2.2 aperture lens, and another 48 megapixel Sony IMX586 sensor but a 120mm periscope lens with an aperture value of f4.1, which gives you up to 5 times optical zoom and up to 120 times of digital zoom, and yes, it also has OIS as well. Then the front camera is a 32 megapixel f2.4 RGBW image sensor. Now, there's also the option to choose between the Leica Vibrant and the Leica Authentic to give more flexibility in post. And with the Leica Vibrant mode turned on, I got some quick videos and photos, and yes, it does indeed live up to its standards of possibly being one of the best smartphone cameras with a really super fast shutter response when taking a shot, making this an actual point-and-shoot camera. Now, for my brief hands-on experience with the Xiaomi 12S Ultra, I found that the autofocus and capture speed was incredibly fast and quite instant as well. Then as for video, the Xiaomi 12S Ultra can shoot up to 8K 24 frames per second at all focal lengths, which was quite interesting and quite rare for smartphones these days. And there's also different stabilization modes as well. Now, what's extra nice is that this phone is the very first Android smartphone to support Dolby Vision recording that can capture up to 10 stops of dynamic range, which is almost the 13 stops of dynamic range that this too Blackmagic 6K camera has. But as usual, the front camera can only record up to 1080p 30 frames per second. Next, powering the Xiaomi 12S Ultra is the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 4nm chipset, paired with up to 12GB of LPDDR5 RAM and the added 3GB of virtual RAM with 512GB of UFS 3.1 storage with the all-new 3D cooling system. Then in terms of software, the Xiaomi 12S Ultra ships with MIUI version 13.0.7 based on Android 12, and the phone performed very snappily with the smooth performance overall, and I love how bright and sharp the screen was when I was using the phone, and the audio was quite punchy as well, and in my brief time the battery performance was also very strong indeed. Now speaking of battery, the phone has a rather large 4860 mAh of battery with a couple of dedicated chips for the battery, which includes the Surge G1 and the Surge P1 for better battery management and charging chips that can help to extend the battery life that can last almost 1.5 days. Now the phone supports up to 67 watts of wired turbocharging, 50 watts of wireless turbocharging and 10 watts of reverse wireless charging. So yes, overall the Xiaomi 12S Ultra seems to check all of the right boxes of being a very good flagship device. So now that we have got all the good news out of the way, let's address the problem with this Xiaomi 12S Ultra. Firstly, it is not coming to Malaysia officially. And even if you get your hands on this smartphone, there's no Google Play Store, no Netflix, and probably not having most of your frequently used apps. Yes, there might be somewhat of a workaround, but remember, if you tinker with those workarounds, you have a very high chance of compromising your level of security for your Google accounts, like say, when you do workarounds with Huawei devices. So with this, besides that, the Xiaomi 12S Ultra is probably the best Android smartphone for now, but with the limited software experience, we can't really take advantage of all of the great hardware features that the phone has to offer. So Xiaomi, tell us, what do we have to do to get this phone to be released globally?